You have been well trained.
No.
You don't have to carry a sword to be powerful.
I won't fail you.
Or do not.
I'm not afraid.
Please don't try.
Hello, welcome to the Chance Cubes presentation of House Rules Gaming Round 4. My name is Kyle Sorensen, and I'm joined by...
I'm Seth Taylor.
Today we've got an exciting matchup between Elite Sabine Wren paired with Elite eEzra Bridger versus Elite ePoe Dameron paired with Elite eHera Syndula. So with this matchup, what would you have to say about Sabine and eEzra? What are their strengths going into this?
You know, obviously the Sabine eEzra deck, the strength is Sabine. That ability only gets better with time as we release more thermal weapons. Can create some really fun interactions with smuggling and that battlefield of Mos Eisley Spaceport. I like the idea of obviously just using that thermal paint, and I want to use that as many times as I can. I see some people hesitate and not deal the additional damage. I like to just, every time they hit that character, regardless of that character, I like to tack on that extra damage because I'm just going to play it again, the very next time with Sabine.
Well, the battlefields that we see out today are Mos Eisley Spaceport. Return one of your upgrades in play to your hand to gain one resource. The other one being Docking Bay. Play a support from your hand or discard pile, decreasing its cost by 1. Which, going into this eHera and ePoe deck, it's truly enormous considering the amount of ships that you can play. And it's great seeing that with Empire at War, we're seeing more of a focus on ships. What's your take on that?
I love the vehicles, and it's nice to be able to have a situation, especially with the upcoming errata, that we can potentially slow the game down just enough to get some supports out. With the dominating meta of some of the really fast decks, I don't think the meta is going to be incredibly slow now, but I do think that we'll be able to see some more plays of some exciting vehicles. And this one's actually an exciting deck because both characters just cheat those vehicles out.
Yeah, it's great seeing the pairing with Poe's special as well as eHera's ability to be able to use them both to proactively put out your supports just left and right. And here we are, and it looks like our starting battlefield will be Mos Eisley Spaceport.
In this situation, we've got two players that have a deck that really wants to use their battlefield. So having the Sabine get that battlefield gets a chance. Again, didn't recognize it early on looking at this deck, but having the option to play the smuggling, to discard a card, gain that resource, return a card and then discard that card next turn, get extra resource with the battlefield. It's just some pretty exciting plays. Love the X8 Night Sniper. That ambush is great, and love 2-cost weapons, so that's pretty exciting early on.
Not to mention that ability to change the side of the X8 just makes it really lethal.
Be really interested to see some exciting plays here. I love eHera's ability to cheat in those vehicles, and obviously both characters are going to miss having a Maz out there, and you see both of them were played heavily with Maz, and just be interested to see what happens at this point. We used to negotiate, remove 1 character die to force an opponent to remove 2 dice, so it's a good lockdown, removing an eEzra die to get rid of 2 ePoe dice, and I love that play.
So here we actually just had eHera roll out her special, which is play a vehicle from your hand for free. After the action phase ends, if that vehicle is still in play, return it to your hand. Between her ability her special, and Poe's special, there's just an enormous amount of damage that can be dealt if done properly.
I'm excited to see what kind of vehicles this deck is going to play. I imagine we'll see we're in straight red, so I was going to say we're going to see a Millennium Falcon, but we are not going to see a Millennium Falcon here.
Nope, definitely no Millennium Falcons here today.
What are you expecting or hoping to see played?
I'm expecting to see Ghost, Black 1, and hopefully a U-wing. Definitely, yep, there's the U-wing right there, just as I said it. Seeing that out on the field, really the amount of damage and even the focused side and even the special side, just everything about that particular vehicle is just amazing.
U-wing is great. Again, yeah, the situation, you can play that with Hera, use it, and then next turn play it again with Poe, and it looks like that's what he's setting himself up to do. I want to see a thermal paint cycling each round. I'd love to see a thermal detonator come out. I don't see heavy play. I usually just see a thermal detonator as a one of in a Sabine deck. Sometimes I don't see it included at all. I like the idea. I just, there it is. There's a thermal detonator. I was going to say I love that card, and I just would always like to see it played.
Yeah, you don't actually see it played too often, it would seem. But now that you have Sabine's ability, it really just seems like an automatic add into this kind of deck. And here we see Poe being rolled out with just nothing but damage.
Yeah, he didn't want to pass up on that damage. Resolves that as the second action. Activate a character, give himself ambush, and do some damage. Sabine took some early hits. I'd love to see. At this point, he's devoid of resources. Doesn't mean he can't get them. Ezra can steal some resources, and he can gain some quickly with his battlefield. I'd like to see a second chance played on Sabine.
Now, when playing against Sabine and Ezra, from your point of view, who should be focused first?
You know, that's really a tough call because the target is Sabine. However, you know, you have turns that you can roll out 6-7 damage in a good activation, and at that point, you know, I don't know how you don't kill a character if you have an opportunity in one round. You know, the Ezra's got such a low life total. You loved the 2 dice at the low point cost. Obviously, Sabine's your bigger threat, and the longer you leave her alive, the more dangerous she is.
Well, and definitely with that ability to take a resource from an opponent, it truly is difficult to get anything ramped up when you have a character who can each round just continue stealing your resources from you. But there I believe we see a special that was just rolled out with the thermal detonator, which in this instance is exciting stuff to see.
Yeah, I'm sure that the Poe deck would have loved to resolve a special to play that U-wing a second time. However, you can't complain with all that damage that Poe did on second turn.
No, not at all. And we just saw right there that Ren was just discarded to re-roll, and Hera just took 4 damage. So now we have a 4 damage on, or 4 health remaining on Sabine, 7 on Ezra, 8 on Hera, and 12 on Poe with 1 shield. And there we go. Now Sabine is down to 3.
I love that play of that thermal detonator. The field medic is going to be tough. You know, he healed 2 damage, also got the 2 shields. So at this point, he's the Sabine deck's already got to go through 4 extra damage there.
And just like that, we see the battlefield being and just like that, we see the battlefield being claimed. And here we go into round 3. Going into this one, what do you think is truly necessary to ensure that Sabine stays alive going further?
You know, he ditched some good cards. He ditched got some extra resources. I really think in order to ramp up to 3 resources, I expect to see a second chance here played. There's 3 resources, and there it is.
Yep, there's your second chance.
Yeah, that's going to be a critical move for him to have a chance in this game.
Well, right now, from what I can see, there is a ghost sitting in the hand for ePoe. So there is a chance that if rolled out, we can see Sabine go, well, not so much down, but lose her second chance as we ramp it back up again.
Just like I often play, and he must have known the damage was going to Poe, but he discarded that thermal paint for the second damage without even a hesitation, so he just wants to get that damage down quick.
Oh, and there's Fast Hand going on to eEzra. I've noticed that you don't see Fast Hands out too often ever since the errata that happened when Pomaz was around.
You know, I think that people get a little excited or a little too heavy reactions. Fast Hands didn't. I mean, obviously it got an errata, obviously it changed, but if you're playing a yellow character deck, Fast Hands is still a great card, and so I agree with you. I see it played way less, and I think that's ridiculous. The card's still great. You know, eEzra has a chance to steal a resource before they have a chance to do anything about it. That X8 can roll some good damage. A lot can happen there.
Yep. So we just saw Y-Wing that was brought in. Its special is force an opponent to deal damage to their characters, distributed as they wish, or lose resources until they have dealt and lost a combined total of 4.
This card's just going to get more popular. Indirect damage, or there's those options. Let the Wookiee win. Some cards that you don't have to lose the resources. I mean, you can quote unquote lose resources if you don't have any to lose. And I love the wording on Y-Wing special. It says you have to do it until you've lost a total of 4. So there's generally going to be some damage taken. You have 0 resources. That means you're taking 4 damage.
Yeah, something like that truly can turn a tide of a game like this, especially if you're able to, for instance, bring eEzra down to 3 damage, and then use that ability or that special. But we got a blank on Y-Wing.
There's still a lot of dice in the pool for the eEzra Sabine deck. Again, he's got that Sabine chipped down so much, but with the second chance, both those characters are just going to live for the foreseeable future. At this point, if I rolled 7 damage, I would not hesitate to redirect it and just take out that eEzra.
Well, we just saw U-Wing discarded for a reroll. And here we see damage going out. Let's see who is getting the damage. It's all on eHera, and eHera is now down to 3 health.
Yep, this Poe eHera deck did what you'd expect it to do. It came out fast. However, Sabine survives, and just like she does, this is the momentum is starting to change here. I like having the U-Wing out, or excuse me, the Y-Wing out. But if he can't get a good reroll, this Sabine deck's just got a lot of health and does a lot of damage.
And here we see more discarding for rerolls.
With that battlefield of choice, obviously the Fast Hands is a great target to return to your hand. Get the extra resource for returning a 0-cost upgrade. Slows you down a little bit, but there could be a round that's a difference maker.
Well, there we see the end of round 3. Great deal of damage done this round, but as it is, things aren't looking too great for eHera. Poe isn't too far behind, especially considering Sabine has that second chance off. What is it that you see is needed at this point for Poe and eHera to be able to pull this around?
If on activation of Sabine, he's going to play his thermal detonator. If that rolls a special, I just feel like that's game over. The Poe deck could use a really good removal card. Could also benefit from another field medic that he's already played. Having Poe drop a U-Wing special could be great. I mean, he really needs to roll a Poe special, I feel, in this situation.
As I say, well, we just saw a hit and run being played. And he's still kind of trying to decide what his next action is going to be. And we see Rend going out. So there goes fast hands.
With Rend out there on the fast hands, again, maybe he didn't feel like he needed the resources, but since he didn't activate eEzra first, I think I would have returned the fast hands to my hand on that battlefield claim and gotten the extra resource.
Well, there we go. Hera is now down to 1 health remaining. Yeah, without a field medic, this is not looking good for Hera.
The interesting thing about Second Chance is without actually even having to trigger yet, it has completely changed the outlook of this game. It's just daunting to see that you have to go through another 5 damage. With a upgrade removal could have been nice. It's tough to see that in red. But like I said, at this juncture, if I would have rolled real big, I wouldn't have hesitated to take out eEzra, remove 3 dice from the table. The sniper doesn't have redeploy, and then just go from there. But sometimes you just have to bite that bullet and let the Second Chance fire and keep going through there.
Well, we've seen a lot of great plays by both players, and right now we're seeing a discard for a reroll. And at this point, we know he's searching for that damage to take out Hera.
Yeah, 2 great decks. This ePoe Hera one after the errata won't be viable anymore. However, it's exciting. Poe's such a unique, fun character. I think he's seen his days, and Hera drops down, and without a special on the Y-Wing, that's going to be pretty tough there.
And there we see the special on the Y-Wing, just on time. But even then, at this point, you're still going to lose 1 resource and take 3 damage to somebody. At this point, what would you say? Take it to Sabine and activate Second Chance, or just let eEzra soak it up?
That's a good call. I think I'd probably toss 1 at Sabine and 2 at eEzra. I would lose my resource, except he's likes the idea of getting that Infamous out there. Let's see where he puts the damage. I'm going to say he puts 2 on each here.
Me being me, I would honestly put it all on eEzra. You have a character who, at this point, really isn't going to be doing much. I mean, yes, he could steal 2 resources, but it would still bring your opponent down to 3. He doesn't really do much for damage. At this point, really, everything should be focused on ensuring that Sabine can make it through as long as humanly possible.
Yeah, I agree with that. If it wasn't for that Night Sniper, I would absolutely put it all in there. And looks like, it did 3 on eEzra and 1 on Sabine. Not bad, but again, with eEzra only having 4 damage left, easy target, maybe not easy target, but easy kill on an activation.
Well, and there we just see running interference being played. Another great card that came out with Empire at War. After you take an action, you can exhaust the support to choose an opponent, and that opponent cannot take the same action that you just took on their next turn. So, really, the sky's the limit with that, especially if you're thinking tactically as to what you can do to ensure that your characters stay alive for another turn.
That's an interesting play. Played a smuggling, gave an ambush, and discarded a truce to get a resource. All that could have been, I don't hate that play. However, truce is one of my favorite cards, and if he got rid of 2 cards in order to gain the same amount of resources. Didn't have to give his opponent a resource, however, so maybe it could have been a big difference maker there.
Honestly, I would have seen it as play the truce, and then next turn play smuggling.
Yeah,
because at that point you have a whole new hand to to use to ramp up even more resources. But to each their own.
Yeah, agreed. At this point, he's got another thermal detonator and a thermal paint. I think he's just trying to decide which one. Thermal paint is an immediate 2 damage to Poe, but the thermal detonator I think is just exciting. The tough thing about the thermal detonator is, again, you want to spread that damage, and he's only got 1 character left. I would almost rather play the thermal paint at this point, but having two thermal detonators on a character is pretty fun.
We will definitely see how it pans out. I mean, there's a decent amount of damage that looks like it cropped up on that, on those thermal detonators. And at this point, you really don't know what can be done for this Poe deck.
Yeah, you need to see a special there. Again, the Sabine deck took the flashy play. You getting 2 thermal detonators out there, I think, just looks fun thematically. The thermal paint would have gotten a guaranteed damage.
Well, as it is, it would take at least 3 action to roll out everything that this Poe Hera deck has left. And as it is, it does look like there's a decent amount of damage waiting to be used. But now we're seeing a discard for a reroll.
That Poe deck's finding himself in that situation that's so tough to be in that you want to play. He plays that support for a dice removal option, but all that's doing is slowing him down. He is going to remove that to get rid of some big damage from Sabine. However, the more actions he takes not activating Poe, less likely it is that he gets some damage out there. So that's a tough situation to find yourself in late game. He's used up both of those. Ambush and activate a red character, and just needs to get some dice rolled and resolve.
Because right there, we did just see 3 damage being dealt out by thermal detonator, and there we see another honor guard going out.
I guess from the Poe's perspective, if he can play the right amount of removal, and he's going to remove some more damage there. If that keeps him alive, then he has a chance to activate that U-Wing and that Poe. He can really do some interesting things. He's taking another thermal detonator down and just hanging by his shoestrings here, and has a chance to really do some damage. Oh,
that's game. Yeah, even with being able to roll out Poe, there's still the 2 range damage that eEzra had. But overall, it was truly a great game. 2 exciting hero decks, even if one is facing the errata coming out soon. But everybody would like to thank you for joining us on this presentation from the Chance Cube. Thank you for your time and have a great day. Make sure to like the Chance Cube on Facebook at facebook.com/the Chance Cube. Also on Instagram at instagram.com/the Chance Cube. And lastly on Twitter at twitter.com/the Chance Cube. Once again, thank you for your time.